There is a saying that goes, when people say it is not about the money, it is about the principle, it is about the money. There has been a dispute down in Clark County, Nevada, about some cattle grazing on federal land. At the center of the dispute is Cliven Bundy refusing to recognize the federal government as owning that real estate in the state of Nevada. It should be noted that he carries around a copy of the United States Constitution, as can be seen in this picture. Strong evidence that Cliven Bundy was just making up his theory of who owns the land is that he paid grazing fees to the federal government prior to 1993, and he made no provisions to pay grazing fees to either the state of Nevada or Clark County, Nevada, who he says are the entities that own the land in question. Here he is in his own words. In his defense, it should be noted that he works hard on his ranch and has a nice family. The Bureau of Land Management claimed that some of Cliven Bundy's cattle were trespassing on federal land. Mr. Bundy did not recognize the federal government as owning the land and refused to pay them grazing fees. The Bureau of Land Management took him to federal court. He was granted due process, and on July 9th, 2013, the judge signed a decision in the matter. I'm now showing you the judge's decision. The judge gave his legal reasoning for it, and he ordered. Mr. Bundy chose not to remove his cattle from the federal land, and so in the April of this year, the Bureau of Land Management sent out armed agents and cowboys to take the cattle off the federal land as allowed for by the judge's order. I do not know the exact number of cattle that Mr. Bundy had, but it was somewhere in excess of hundreds, so it would not be a small task. Some armed people showed up to prevent the Bureau of Land Management agents from removing the cattle. Due to the volatile nature of the situation, the Bureau of Land Management backed down and has not yet removed the cattle. The armed people who showed up claimed to be patriots who were defending the Constitution. One thing that is annoying me lately is all kinds of people are treating the Constitution as if it was a divinely inspired document and it must be therefore supported. Most of them do not even know what is in the Constitution. I personally support the Constitution. However, before it was amended, after the Civil War, it did allow for slavery. Saying what it is or is not in the Constitution or is not constitutional has become somewhat like the word exponential, which has now come to mean large. When the people who say the Bureau of Land Management's actions were unconstitutional, they failed to say why. I did see someone on one of their videos that claimed that it was in violation of the 10th Amendment. I saw another that indicated that because the federal government did not follow the 17th paragraph of Article 1, Section 8, which tells what Congress can and cannot do, it was unconstitutional. However, if you actually look at what that paragraph says, and reading from above, it says, the Congress shall have the power to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square, as may by secession of particular states and acceptance of Congress become the seat of government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be, for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. That section is referring to having, as it says, exclusive legislation over the districts. And it has nothing to do with the acquisition of the land. Therefore, that argument fails. They reference the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, which is the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. That will be the starting point for me to try and figure out that argument. When you look back at Article 1, Section 8, which limits the things Congress can make laws about, it also contains the Commerce Clause, which is to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. You must since setting up the Bureau of Land Management is not one of the items listed in Article 1, Section 8, they believe that it is unconstitutional. They also forget that in our system of government, it is the Supreme Court that decides what is and what is not constitutional. Article 1, Section 8 also contains the Commerce Clause. In particular, Congress can make laws about things that affect interstate commerce, and the United States Supreme Court has really stretched that. However, in the case that found Obamacare to be constitutional, Chief Justice Roberts put in language indicating a pushback on the Commerce Clause. However, their argument about Article 1, Section 8 fails for another reason. Particularly, Article 4, Section 3 provides the Congress shall have the power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or property belonging to the United States, and nothing in this Constitution shall be so construed as to prejudice any claims of the United States or any particular state. And then going back to Article 1, Section 8, it gives the federal government or the Congress the power to provide for calling forth the militia to execute The laws of the Union suppress insurrections and repel invasions. Particularly in this case, the Bureau of Land Management has been set out to enforce the law. Other than Cliven Bundy, no one disputes that the land in question belongs to the federal government. Cliven Bundy claims it belongs to either Clark County, Nevada, or the state of Nevada. Neither of those entities make a claim on the land, and particularly telling is that he has made no attempt to pay either of those entities for his grazing cattle. Therefore, those who went to Cliven Bundy's ranch to support Cliven Bundy are pseudo-patriots who opposed a constitutional order of a federal court. There is no support for their claim that the order is unconstitutional other than they do not like it. Cliven Bundy is likely a nice guy, but their support for him is like giving support to Whitey Bulger because while he was on the lam, he did not get into any further trouble with the law, so why put an octogenarian in prison?